Hi, I'm MJ. I'm a photographer, videographer, and a couple of you have reached out to me on wanting to learn photography. And so I'm creating a mini course on mobile photography, which is what I started with way back in 2020. Okay, so if you see me looking down, it's because I have my phone with me. I'm taking a screen recording and I'm going to be sharing that on the side of the screen. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want us to go over is what exactly your phone can do, what exactly your smartphone can do. And so I'm going to be taking a few terminologies and a few things I think are very relevant in photography. And then we are going to break them down and fully understand them before we go about taking our pictures. Okay, so the first point I want us to understand is what a megapixel is. Now, when you go to buy a phone, a lot of the times one of the specs you find is the megapixels, and this can be confusing to a few people, but it usually just indicates how good of a picture your phone is capable of taking. So ultimately, a 64 megapixel phone is better than a 12 megapixel phone, or a 120 megapixel phone is way better than a 64 megapixel phone. Okay, so the megapixels refer to the number of pixels in an image. Now, a pixel is the tiniest parts of an image, if I should say. Now, a pixel is similar to an atom in that is the smallest bite of a picture you can find. And so sometimes when you find a picture that is not of very good quality, you realize that the pixels are bigger and fewer. And so the fewer the pixels, the lower the quality generally. So more megapixels generally indicates more detail and in effect a better quality of the picture. But it's important to know that this is not the only factor that makes up a very good photo. Another thing is megapixels are very important when you want to print a picture, or you want to have a very high-end picture on a billboard, or just something that will stretch out your picture. Pixel number can also be altered in post-production. You can work on that on Photoshop as well. Okay, so the next thing I want us to look at is lenses. It may not directly apply to mobile phones, but it helps to an extent. Now, newer mobile phones have the 0.5 times for viewing stuff and recording stuff, and then the 1 times and then the 2 times, and I think from there you can increase it to up to 5 times. But then with regards to lenses, we have different types. You have the wide angle lens, and your 0.5 times mode can act as a wide angle lens because it kind of pushes things back by half from the distance you are to whatever you're shooting. And the 1 is just your actual distance, and then 2 increases it by 2. There's also the telephoto. The telephoto lens helps zoom in without taking away the details. So you realize that if you zoom in from your phone to times 5, you will lose a lot of your quality, except maybe you are a Samsung or Pixel baby. And even those phones, you need a very high-end one, the Samsung Galaxy S series or the Google Pixels, the very recent new upgraded ones. Even with those, there's still a little bit of struggle with getting good detail. But what a telephoto lens does is it's able to zoom in while maintaining the detail. And you know what's it called? The thing they use to view the stars. Hey, Telly. You know what I'm talking about. The next one is a macro lens, and I think our phones actually have this mode. The macro lens also helps with taking very close up pictures without losing the details. So you get very close up to flower or something, and then you're able to take a very good crisp photo of it. And it's able to keep the lens steady. One of the other modes on the phone is the HDR. What it does is it combines multiple exposures. So it takes a wide range of tones and then it combines them to give you the best. It's particularly good for scenes with high contrast, bright skies, dark foregrounds, stuff like that. One thing to be cautious of is it can usually lead to pictures that don't look very natural. The colors may be blown out sometimes. I think this next mode is the reason why a lot of people buy iPhones. Portrait mode. Now what this does is it blurs the background most of the time while keeping the subject in focus. So me, I am a subject, this is the background, this is the foreground, I am the subject. And what it does is it makes me sharp, it keeps me in focus while blurring the background, just like my camera is doing now. So whatever is in the background now, it's blurred out, but the focus is on me. That's what the portrait mode does basically. It's mainly to emphasize the subject, and so it keeps all eyes on the subject. One other mode that we can easily find on smartphones these days is the night mode. Now the night mode is set specifically to help you take good pictures at night. Lots of the times when it's night and you have to take a normal picture on your normal mode on your phone's camera, the phone's camera, in a bit to expose it, will make it very grainy, and so you don't get a very high quality picture. And so the night mode is to help with that. It eliminates that problem. Next is the panorama mode. So this basically helps you take a very wide shot, a very horizontal wide shot, and so you stand this way and then you pan it through, and then you stop your recording and you get a photo. Now one of the primary modes we are going to be using is the manual mode, and I am pretty sure a lot of people have not explored this on their phones. If you go to your phone settings, you find a pro mode. Now when you go there, it gives you options to make all the adjustments to your phone by yourself. A lot of the time your phone is on auto mode for the camera, so everything is set for you. Your ISO, your f-stop, everything is set for you. It optimizes in such a way that your picture is clear enough to be seen, but sometimes it takes out the artistic element, and that's what the pro mode is supposed to help you with. So with that, you have control over everything, over what's coming in, over the amount of light, over the speed. There are some limits on the mobile phone, but with the camera it helps you adjust anything and everything. Now it's important that we start with the very basics, start with things that we are comfortable with, and then gradually move from there. Okay, so we are going to be taking each of the terms in the pro mode and explaining them to fully understand what they mean. Okay, so the ISO measures the sensitivity of the camera's sensor to light. So higher ISO values helps you shoot in lower light settings, but can introduce noise. So in this case, that's what your phone during the night mode does. Because the place is so dark, the ISO goes up to help detect light and be sensitive to the little amount of light that there is. And in doing that, it decreases the quality. There's a lot of grain that's introduced into the photo or video. Now the shutter speed is more like the eye. It detects the time with which light enters the eye. The time taken for light to enter your eye is very short. And if you expose it for like 5 seconds, the amount of light that enters is a lot. This directly affects how your image looks. It's usually 1 in something. So 1 over something, 1/10 of a second, and that's usually of a second. So if it's 1 over 1 or 1, that's 1 second. So the shutter will be open for exactly 1 second. If it's 1 in 60, it means that the shutter will be open for 1/60th of a second. If it's 1 in 1000, the shutter will be open for 1 in 1000th of a second. What this results in is that if it's open for longer, a lot more light comes in, and so your image is very bright. If it's open for shorter, little light comes in, and so your image is a little bit darker or on the contrasting side. One of the other things you can use shutter speed for is for moving objects. So let's say in car races or objects that are moving really fast, if you want to take a picture of them, you have to move the shutter speed to a very tiny portion of a second. So let's say 1,000th of a second. What that does is that it helps you track the speed of whatever is coming, allowing the light in for that amount of time, blurring the background of that thing while giving you a sharp image of whatever is moving. And here are some examples of what you can do with your shutter speed, playing with it. You can increase it, you can decrease it, and a lot of the time people, when they expose it, they have to keep their camera stable. If not, the slightest move will result in a blur or a smudge or a very blurry picture. So what you do is, if let's say you're exposing your camera for 10 seconds while shooting cars that are moving, to track the lights. If you see a lot of pictures where you see it's on the street and there are only light trails and you don't see the cars, it's because the shutter speed has been exposed for quite a long time, for let's say 10 seconds or 12 seconds or more. Now what that does is it stays stationary, recording the light as it moves, and so it only captures what moves and what is very visible. One of the other things you see commonly in phones is the white balance. Now the white balance helps you work with the color temperature for your photos. Now the examples are, sometimes you have presets like daylight, tungsten, fluorescent, and a few other ones. I think on the phone you may not find them that easily, but on the camera DSLR those are templates that you can use, and they help you work with colors that are natural for particular instances. So if you're standing in the shade, there's a template for that. If you're standing in the daylight, there's a template for that. And of course you can always change these. Of course you can always tweak these according to your artistic whatever you think. So I think that'll be it for today. Hopefully this video comes out well. I'm going to share the other information as time goes on, and we'll be going through tips and tricks on how to better use your phone for photography. So this was just the beginning, and I hope you stay along for the rest. I'll see you. Bye.